Here is a summary of the modifications that I made in the course of renovating this amplifier. We'll start with the power. I put a new power cord on here, and with the strain relief I've tied in some zip ties there to hold it in place, and I rewired the power entry block to accommodate 220 volt or 240 instead of 120. I've got 220 or 240, whatever you want to call it. I've got that in my ham shack, and I think it runs the amplifier better. I replaced the electrolytic capacitors that are on the grid circuit, and in getting these apart, I broke a lead on this resistor. That's a 10K ohm resistor, so I replaced it. It calls for a 2 watt. I couldn't find a 2 watt. I got a 3 watt, and then also this ceramic disc capacitor, 0.02 microfarad. It broke. There was a lead on it that broke, and I replaced it. Cleaned the contacts on the antenna relay. What else? So this is on the back of so here we are on the back. I didn't do any changes to any of the connections. A lot of people want to change the RCA jack here going into the antenna relay. I didn't do that. I kept it as it was. So I put in the Harbach. This is the Harbach antenna relay kit, so you can use this with a solid state radio. That drops the voltage on the antenna relay from 120 volts down to about 1.6 volts. So your antenna relay on your solid state radio should be able to handle that pretty well. This is the Harbach soft start module. I put that in. I bought the one for the 110 volt power, and it comes with 20 ohm resistors. If you're going to run on 240, then you need to change these to 10. There weren't any 10 ohm resistors available, so I used these 11 ohm resistors. So these two, so that'll be fine. It works, radio works just fine. This is a 10 ohm, 10 watt resistor that I put in. Actually, I think this one's probably 11 ohms, but anyway, it's what they had at the store, and this is a sacrificial element should you get a high current on the B plus. This is the B plus, and if you get a high current, plate current, excessively high plate current due to a tube failure or maybe a short, this will blow and it won't destroy other components in the amplifier. I cleaned and lubricated the fan motor. On the back here, or the front, this is the relative strength meter sensitivity. That pot is a 100K pot originally, but there's no on-off ability with it. So what I did is I replaced it with this pot. I couldn't find a 100K ohm pot that had an on-off function that I liked. So this is a push-pull on-off, and it's 250. So in order to get that in, I had to put in these dropping resistors to drop the ohms on this from 100 to 0 to 125 ohms. So that worked. I did notice I had to replace some of the wiring on this meter selection wafer switch, and lug 13, which is one on the back, very important one, but it was just barely hanging on, and when I touched the wire it broke. And so I had to come up with a repair there. What I did is I wrapped it through the rivet hole on the switch, and I was able to solder this wire to the remaining lug, or what was remaining of the lug, and it works just fine. Of course, this is the back side of the Harbach power supply upgrade, and that is about it on the back of the switch. Yeah, that's about it for the back here. Continuing with the summary of work that I did on the amplifier, I installed the this is the Harbach power board modification, so you get all new filter capacitors and the resistor bank, bleeding resistors and everything. So that's a big improvement for the project. Hard to see, but you can see down in there I installed opposing diodes across the meter circuit in order to provide protection to overcurrent to the meter that can potentially really mess up the meter, and then you're in a world of hurt because these meters are really hard to come by. And I installed a LED light bulb. It's actually a pinball machine replacement lamp, but it operates off of 6.3 volts DC or AC, whichever you feed it. And one of the complaints that people have is that if your filament voltage is greater than 6.3 volts, then this will burn up that lamp more quickly. So I put in a resistor there. It's 39 ohms, and what that does is it drops the feeding the voltage to the lamp by about 1.2 volts, so that gets it down into the 5 volt range, and that'll help extend the life of the lamp for the meter. I bought a white LED, and it really provides a very nice color to it. Other than that, on the inside, I just cleaned everything up. Everything's cleaned up. I lubricated the shafts on the variable capacitors, and that's about it. I was able to get a nozzle underneath there. Here's the fan, and I was able to lubricate the top part of the shaft of the fan. And then on the back here, there was some improper wiring that was done by a previous owner, and I had to redo some of the and I couldn't get any of the bands to work. And then I discovered that the wiring that they had done had completely bypassed all the input networks. So I corrected that wiring, and then I also installed this 10 ohm resistor. That's a 3 watt, but a 10 ohm resistor in the cathode input line. And what that does, the idea there is that helps dampen VHF oscillations, and it also helps prevent overdriving the input signal to the amplifier. And in reality, this amplifier tops out at around 65 or 70 watts input. It flatlines, and I've got the data that shows that. A little cleanup back here, and that's about it on the back of the unit. On the front of the unit, I cleaned up all the knobs, and I cleaned up the meter. I don't have this powered on right now, so the meter light doesn't come on, but it produces a very nice light. And then I've got the push on, pull on, push off, whatever it is, relative power sensitivity pot there. So now I can put that into to bypass whenever the amp is on. And it's got a whole brand new faceplate. I was able to find this faceplate on eBay. It's no longer, there's a guy that was producing them. He's no longer doing that. And I don't know where you get a redone one or a new one, but I feel very lucky to have gotten this one when I did. And it's silk screened and powder coated. It's a real beauty. I did have to transfer the SB200 logo from the old faceplate to this one, and that's attached with some really good double stick tape. So there you have it. Here is the finished SB200. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, internally and externally. Looks like a brand new amp. The paint job turned out nice. As you can see on the top, looks really good. Nice clean front. And of course inside, got all the screws put down. Got your danger high voltage sign, because what's in there will kill you. One thing I didn't do, there's 2 screws underneath that bezel on the front. I left those out because that way I can get to the insides of the top of the amp just by removing all those screws. Otherwise, you have to actually remove the amp from the cabinet in order to get that top off if you ever needed to change tubes or you wanted to do something. So I left that. I left those 2 screws out. But all in all, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was a great project and a nice addition to my shack.